Hey guys, it's Hadi here with Geek on Gadgets, and this is our review of the LG Nexus 5X. Of course, the Nexus 5X was released alongside the Huawei 6P as sort of a companion flagship, a slightly lower end and more affordable device, but that's nonetheless a flagship, especially when it comes to the Nexus lineup, which have more often been about optimizing performance, giving users that pure Android experience rather than just giving them the highest spec phone that stutters over with the smallest app. So starting off in terms of the design of the Nexus 5X, it certainly is a normal looking device. It's not a very bold design, but at the same time it's a very, it's enough to give it an intriguing look where it's not bland and boring, but it has nothing over the edge about it. So nobody's gonna run by the phone for the design, but nobody's gonna hate the design. And I do like the white on black, honestly. And in terms of feel and size and everything, the 5X is probably at that sweet spot for smartphones at the end of 2015 with its 5.2-inch screen, 7.9mm body, 136 grams. It's kind of what people are trying to hit with most smartphones nowadays. That being said, I don't have much to say about the actual design of the 5X, except probably my only complaint would be the weird button placement. Now, I'm usually used to either the G4 with its rear-facing buttons or, Windows phones where they have the same side buttons but they're switched, where you actually have the volume rocker on top and the power button in the middle. So it's certainly taking me a lot of time, even after over a week and a half, to actually adjust to which one is the power button, which one is the volume button, especially when I'm trying to toggle the phone in my pocket. The screen on the Nexus 5X is a pretty awesome 5.2-inch IPS LCD 1080p display. Now, although that might not sound like much compared to other flagships these days, you have Sony coming out with 4K displays. Personally, I'm coming from the LG 4G with a 2K display, yet I actually had no problem whatsoever with the actual display on the 5X. Even day one, moving from the G4 to the 5X, sure, one of them might seem more vibrant or that, but I didn't notice a difference in pixel density. It did not bother me at all, so certainly nothing to worry about in terms of the display on the 5X. It's a pretty amazing display. Now, of course, when it comes to the camera, the 5X is obviously produced by LG, which have a really nice track record when it comes to cameras, especially with that G4. They did some amazing things with a 16 megapixel camera there, and they brought most of that over to the 5X. It has the same laser autofocus, a dual LED flash, and a 12.3 megapixel camera. Now, 12.3 megapixel camera, it's more than enough. It takes some really nice shots. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the best camera out there, but it's more than adequate, and the pictures look really nice actually most of the time. And one point that I will definitely give to the 5X is that nighttime pictures look amazing. There's almost no noise when taking pictures at night. So instead of having a picture with those ugly gray and yellow splotches in the sky, you will actually get a pure black sky. And it's something that's, really amazing in terms of a camera like this. It's very impressive, and props to LG and Google for getting that done. If I were to critique any part of the Nexus 5X's main camera, it would be the actual camera app itself. The standard default Android Google camera app is a bit too bare bones. It has, basically the basic settings: flash, HDR, and a timer, and swipe right for video, swipe left back for photos. There doesn't even seem to be a scene mode, which is the very least which most people provide now for taking photos in the snow or on the beach or indoors, fluorescent, office, that stuff. There don't seem to be any of those. So it's a bit too bare bones, and honestly, it makes the whole camera experience, although simplified, feel a bit stupid. The 5 megapixel front-facing camera, on the other hand, is a slight disappointment. In terms of the video quality, it takes 1080p videos, they look nice and everything. But one consistent problem I found with the front-facing camera is the fact that it always looks overcast and gloomy, no matter what the settings are. Even when outside under the direct sunlight, it still somehow manages to look gloomy and add like a gray tinge to the photos. It just doesn't impress in terms of making photos look appetizing, I want to say. One of my absolute favorite features of the Nexus 5X so far has been the fingerprint sensor on the back. It's actually simply a sensor, not a button, but it's incredibly accurate, and it makes unlocking your phone a breeze. Rarely do I have to do anything more than simply tap my finger on the sensor for it to unlock and give me that nice vibrating touch that the phone has been unlocked. It's quite dependable and pretty damn fast. Now, of course, the Nexus 5X, being the futuristic device that it is, comes with the new USB Type-C cable connector, which is pretty awesome and all. It gives you some amazing transfer speeds and some amazing charge speeds as well. The phone charges extremely fast. However, the weird thing is that Google or LG didn't really think about the fact that it's not widely adopted yet. I have no problem jumping on the USB Type-C train, but this is my first USB Type-C device, and the type of cable they gave me was a bit confusing. It's a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable, which means I can only use it with the adapter that came with the phone, and I really can't do anything else with it. So I can't charge my phone while sitting on my laptop because I don't have a normal USB to USB Type-C cable, and it's proven almost impossible to find a USB Type-C cable here in Jordan. Being a Nexus device, of course, the 5X is all about that stock Android performance with Google Now Launcher, and I found it a bit underwhelming after being hyped up about stock Android for so long. Sure, the Google Now tab on the side is nice, and the persistent Google search on top, awesome. But sometimes I feel that the Google Now Launcher and stock Android is pretty unintuitive. I mean, there is no Clear Now option under the Task Manager, meaning I have so many apps open that I have to close one by one, and it gets really tiresome, especially with the phone having some performance issues in some apps, especially Snapchat and the camera app, where it just stutters and becomes almost unusable. But of course, there's a huge upside to being a Nexus device and a pure stock Android device, which is the fact that it gets the latest updates. My Nexus 5X was updated to 6.0.1 Marshmallow on day 1, and having Marshmallow on tap is pretty awesome, and if not useful, it's a nice trick to show to your friends. When it comes to battery performance, the 5X falters a bit in that aspect. It has a 2700 mAh battery, which is considered pretty small for devices these days. And in fact, the battery performance, regardless of how fast it charges with the USB Type-C cable, is a bit disappointing. Rarely did a day go by where I didn't run out of battery by the end of the day and had to find a port or deal with a dead phone. The back of the Nexus 5X is a non-user removable back, so you can't even pop up the battery and replace it with a spare. And moving on to probably the most sensitive part of the 5X is the fact that it does not have microSD expandable storage, meaning you're stuck with either the 16GB or 32GB variant of the device, depending what you buy. And that's a huge bummer for a lot of people. I have the 16GB version here, and that's 8.5GB left without backing up any of my photos, putting any music on it, or even installing any big apps such as games or anything else. So if you have the 16GB version, you pretty much have to live in the cloud. So overall, the 5X is a pretty impressive device, especially for the price range. Here in Jordan, it sells for 370 Jordanian dinars, which is a pretty average or below average price for such a phone as well. So the price is not the problem. I mean, it's a very nice phone, takes some great pictures, excellent performance, except in some areas where it stutters and slows down, like I mentioned, especially in Snapchat and the camera apps. But beyond that, it's a pretty awesome phone. Fingerprint scanner is amazing, excellent screen. But my only complaint would be the lack of expandable storage, the small battery, and just maybe they could have thrown in an extra gigabyte of RAM in there, making it 3GB instead of the 2. Maybe that'll fix some of the performance issues. Beyond that, the 5X is a pretty impressive phone. I'm not actually loving the whole stock Android, but I can definitely live with it, and I can learn to like it. What do you guys think about the 5X in terms of a device, performance, etc.? Leave your comments down below. Thank you for watching, guys. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys around.